It'd be nice to have one of our own members, Robert F., share with us today his story. So without further ado, let's welcome Robert.
Hi, everybody. My name is Robert, and I am grateful to be sober today. My sobriety date is on November 1st, 2019. But my journey with Alcoholics Anonymous began a long time before that. I want to thank Bridget for giving me the opportunity to share. It's an interesting experience. I don't know what I'm going to say, so I want to do a disclaimer, and that is, of course, I speak only for myself and not for this group and not for AA or anybody else. And I also noticed that as I look at my life, I'm in my 60s now, and my point of view on my life changes. So I even take a disclaimer on what I'm about to say, because I don't know how it's gonna be a year from now. I completely thought different things about my life, you know. So I'm going to try to go through my 60 years of life with you in 9 minutes. So we'll see if I can do that. So I think that each of us here, and I'm so glad to see you all, and I've got to change this view because I'm looking at myself and it's giving me the creeps. There we go. Back to there's everybody. Thank you. Hi. My journey begins at the end of the 1950s. And I was born in the desert mirage city of Las Vegas, Nevada. And my family consisted of my mother, her sister, her mother, her father, which is my grandmother, and my grandfather. And we lived in the house together. That's where my point of view started. My grandfather was the breadwinner, and he was an entertainer on the Las Vegas Strip. Let's see. I have to say also he's Latino, speaks Spanish as his first language, and of course my grandmother is Caucasian, only speaks English, and it turns out that my mother and my aunt are from a different father. So I got all that weird stuff going on. But it was I have to tell you, it was a fun. I look back on my childhood as extremely fun. There was all kinds of parties, showgirls, celebrities, music, entertainment. Of course, there was alcohol, but my family didn't drink. They were Christian Scientists, and I have that in common with Peter from San Francisco there. Except we Christian Science is it's basically based on metaphysics or mind over matter. They have the reputation that they don't believe in doctors. They are very stoic in the modern sense of the word. There's no emotion with that group, and they take an intellectual approach to life. They don't believe in death. They believe in a father, mother, God, that there's no gender in the afterlife or in this life, actually. Really, really interesting concepts. But we took a liberal point of view, and we used medicine and doctors and all that stuff. So I don't know, those of you that know about Christian Science. My worldview, as I look back, I start to experience the earth from my little family, and that's where it starts, and that's where it started for all of us. As kids, we know what we see. We're socialized by what we see. And, for me, my family would wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we'd go out in the backyard and watch the atomic bombs go off. And then there would be a really nice earthquake accompanied with it. And as a kid, that was just great. The water would splash out of the pool, and there we go. Of course, they stopped the above ground testing and moved to underground testing, but we still got to have, every couple of months, there was a nice man-made earthquake from the atomic center. Gotta turn that off. So I was about 10 years old when a traumatic thing happened. From watching soap operas, I realized that my family was different than other families. And so they had never told me that my mother was a single mother, and the whole story behind that. So I confronted the family, or actually my mother, and learned that I was a bastard. And that society's label got thrown upon me, and my mother was an outcast, and they just didn't really discuss it. I kind of wish they had, but I don't know what I would have done with that information. I'm grateful that my mother chose to keep me. But then when I felt bad about life, I'd blame my mother for not having an abortion. So really strange situation there. So the family dynamic was, I was more like a little brother to my aunt and my mother, who lived with their, father and mother. Kind of weird. Let's see. And I'm taking too much time on that. I'll just jump ahead to when I was older. My grandmother asked me what church would I like to join, and set me off on a quest to to see if I wanted to join the Christian Science Church or if I wanted to choose another church. In my circle of friends, there was basically two groups, which were Jews and Mormons. So I had Judaism and Mormonism to look at. The Catholics were there, but they all went to Catholic school at Our Lady of Las Vegas. But the Mormons had something that the other church, what they had was Boy Scouts. They had Boy Scouts, they had social stuff, they had trips to Salt Lake City, camping trips to Catalina Island in California, Grand Canyon, Lake Mead, apple picking, all kinds of social activities. It was just a blast. And while that fun stuff was going on, in the background, I was being inculcated with their message that my family is wrong. My existence is wrong. They have a solution. They can save me. They can save me from my family, which I didn't realize how horrible my family was until the Mormons told me. So along with the sales pitch came all of this guilt and shame, and bizarre. The Mormons have bizarre beliefs, if you really delve into it, about they believe that they said your family can live. We're all going to die, and you can live forever with your eternal family, with God the Father and His Son Jesus Christ and their wives, and the Mormons are going to be able to have sex for the eternities and make babies. And men can be married to many, many women in the afterlife. And actually, we can have our own millions of children, millions of kids, and we can have our own planet. And basically, we can become God. Now, that sounds good, doesn't it? Okay. It took me a long time to realize that was insane. And the whole story about the I don't know if you know the story, but they believe that a guy named Joseph Smith found some golden plates on a hill in New York City and translated them with magic spectacles, and that told about a race of white people that fought a race of black people all across North and South America and ended up in New York. Okay, but that's a good story. You know, you got that strange story, and Christ flew to Mexico City, to Teotihuacan, to do a presentation. And that's why that Cortez was welcomed as a god when he discovered the Aztecs. You know, there's proof to all of this, right? And it's a good story, but it's insane, and I didn't realize it. So my grandmother, after I got baptized, was a little concerned and sent me off to Santa Barbara to live with my cousins. And my cousins introduced me to cream de mint, and you know, to get rid of the green tongue, a beer chaser, and to get rid of the and then slow gin and more beer. And I loved it. It was great. My cousins were, you know, sophisticated, and I love the taste of alcohol, and I love the effect of alcohol, because all that bullshit and those stories and those conflicts, and they just kind of seemed to disappear. And I was high and having a great time with my cousins. Well, I came back to Las Vegas, and I graduated from Las Vegas High School. Then I went to UNLV and graduated from there. And but I had this yin and yang going on. I wanted the Mormon goody two shoe life, and I wanted the drug and alcohol burnout life. So I tried to do two things. I was, you know, Mr. Straightlace one day, and Mr. On the floor Rocky Horror Picture Show attending person on the other side, and trying to have it all. I had a knack for computers in those old days, and I was spotted by a company, and got a job in Los Angeles, and that introduced me to the expense account and to frequent flyer miles and concierge levels at hotels, and all kind of wonderful travel across the United States, and you know, all the material things that go along with that, including cocaine. And so at this point, I went to my first alcoholic treatment center. Spent 28 days at Cedar at a really fancy place in Beverly Hills, and got involved with Alcoholics Anonymous a little bit because it sounded good, but I really wasn't serious about that. And a year later, I went back to the same hospital, Alcoholic Treatment Center. So I basically spent my late 20s and 30s going from you know, jobs to drunk to treatment center, sober, drunk, treatment center, sober, drunk, treatment center. I went to great places: Arizona, Oregon, wonderful places to get renewal. And I started to have all kinds of spiritual healings that weren't Mormon, but I was still a Mormon, and I still tried to play the Mormon game. Oh my gosh. Finally, the Mormons excommunicated me. And that was where I got released from all of that stuff. They hauled me in, and well, actually they sent two like missionaries to my house and gave me a summons to the priest court. And I went to their court, and there was 4 of them on one side of the room, and me. They were all behind desks, and I was in a little chair. And I didn't think they were going to excommunicate me. I didn't know what it was, but they looked at me and they said, "Do you believe that we are appointed by God the Father to judge your eternal soul?" And I was taught to say yes to all of that. And so then they said, "Well, we've decided to excommunicate you. We're going to remove your priesthood powers. We're going to remove your baptism and redemption. We're going to actually take the Spirit of God from you, and Satan and his demons will be free to torment you." And so that was religious abuse. And of course, that sent me off to the hospital again. That was now a psychiatric hospital. But it ended up being a good thing. I finally got a job that I stuck with for a while. I was working for a multinational firm and got to travel around started to spend a lot of time in Europe, and started this spiritual journey where I wanted to see where things started. So I went to Akron, Ohio, and went to all the AA sites there where Dr. Bob and Bill first met at the Mayflower Hotel, at Henrietta Seiberling's house. And I went, snuck into the Mayflower Hotel so I could stand in the lobby where Bill stood and have a cup of coffee in Dr. Bob's house. And then from there, I climbed the Hill Cumorah in upstate New York. I went to Egypt and climbed inside the pyramids and went up and down the Nile. I went to Israel to see where Jesus was born. I went to Mexico, South America, Ecuador, Peru, Machu Picchu, wherever the spiritual stuff was, I wanted to go check it out. Rome, Athens, it was, and then Asia. I had to go to the temples in Asia. So I've always had a real detailed interest in religion. And then I've had a real detailed interest in alcohol. And I never could get the whole thing together. I'd sober up and then go into the hospital, and sober up and go into the hospital. I got married in Denmark to a wonderful diplomat, and kind of had a storybook wedding. Lived 6 months in Europe and 6 months in the United States. And I was sober when I was in Europe, and I was drunk when I was in the United States. So this was kind of a hard thing to maintain. My company was sold, and I didn't like the new company. And so I retired early. They had a buyout package. I took the buyout package and began a life of kind of being young as a retiree with a motorhome and a spouse, and would spend winters in Arizona and summers in northern Idaho, and volunteered to work for a campground. And they fired me from my volunteer job because I was drunk. They didn't want me teaching the kids how to build fires when I was a little tipsy. The story goes on and on like that. But the periods with Alcoholics Anonymous that I had gave me glimpses of the sober life, and that there's a better way, and that these multiple parts can come together. So I decided I wanted to get sober about 10 years ago, but I couldn't do it. I got a sponsor. I found secular AA. I would be sober for a while, and then I'd be drunk again. And the consequences got worse. I started to pass out in my front yard and crack my head open in bricks. And neighbors would be involved, and ambulances, and finally the police were involved, and I was hauled off to a psychiatric hospital, and they threatened to have me committed because there wasn't anything else they could do with me. So for some reason, I decided that I wanted this to get sober. I couldn't stand this anymore. I finally, after all those decades, gave up. And I had a physical problem. I had a shoulder problem that crept in, and I needed to have surgery to get this shoulder fixed. So after I got sober, I was in terrible pain at the hospital. I went on antabuse because I couldn't trust myself. I had to not drink before the surgery, and for a month, and I couldn't trust myself to do that. So went on the antabuse, had the surgery, the pain went away, and I had some friends and a psychiatrist who all got each time I got drunk, I tried to figure out what could I do? What could I do? What could I do to learn from this experience? So I had to set up an emergency plan in order for me to get sober. So I gave authority to a doctor to have me committed, friends to have me drugged to the doctor, and that seemed to be what I needed. But I had to throw everything at sobriety. I had to throw smart recovery at it. I had to throw, I decided I would throw church at it. I got involved with some community things that helped support me. And this structure came together for me. Somehow or another, the whole thing finally came together. And my life has changed in these past 2 years. I wish that I had 40 years of sobriety, but I don't. My story is I'm a chronic in and outer, and I hope that I'm not now. I like this way of life. I like what I'm learning here. I like having that was another thing. My brain was lost. I was afraid I'd have a wet brain, but I like my brain, and I like what's happening. I joined a book club. I quit smoking. I started exercising, attending at least 5 meetings a week. Whether they're on, the pandemic came, but it was actually kind of helpful because I found you folks, and gradually you've become so important to me. I think about you all the time, and I feel this sense of community, and that sense of community is what is providing me strength and a path and examples. And I admire you all so much. I like it when you bring your struggles in, and I like it when you bring your solutions in. And you have so much wisdom, and I've finally realized that. Wow, sober is better than drunk, and this life is the path that I'd like to follow the path that you're leading, and I hope that I continue to do that. The influence you have on me is, I'm so grateful for it. I look back at 2018 and 2019 or start of 2019. And when I compare that to what I have today, I really actually can confirm that my my worst days now are better than those days back then. Sober is better than drunk. I've had to go to extremes. Last year, I had a depression that sunk in, and I could feel that I was falling back and trying to come up with a path to stumble. And so I checked into the hospital, the outpatient program, for 21 days. And that got me back in balance. I was out of alignment. So I think I'm finally willing to go to any length. And this is the softer, easier way. So I don't know. That's what's going on. I have been coffeeed up. I didn't sleep much. I've been nervous about this. I didn't know how much to talk about. So I'm ending a little. I'm ending right on time. This is the way. Oh, and we don't have to go to climb a mountaintop or dig up golden plates or go to the mother church. That's my story. Glad to be with you on this side.
Thank you, Robert. Very good to hear your story.